What's up, everybody? It's your boys. It's Tuesday night. That means it's Flyers Talk A to D. And we got some hockey to talk about tonight, so that's always fun. It's amped up. It's preseason. We're 2 games in with the Flyers. A bunch of other teams about 2 games in as well. Lots of stuff to talk about. We're going to talk about Rick Tocchet's training camp, how it compares to Tortorella's. Do the players like it? Do the players find it a little bit more fun? What's his philosophy moving forward? We're also going to talk about the 2 games. We got the game tonight against the Habs, which last time I checked, they were down 3-2. We also talking about the game with the Isles. Excited to talk some hockey again. So let's get it. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that share button as well. Get us out to your friends. Time to get the conversation started. Let's go drop the puck.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new edition of Flyers Talk A2D right here on A2DRadio.com. I am Matt Sassuti along with the Darkwing, Brian Daly.
I'm looking at some of these social media pages. Flyers fans are in mid-season form. Are we really judging preseason hockey? Come on, I think we're better than that.
And the broken one, Rob Povia.
The answer is, of course we are, Brian. Of course we are.
Fair enough.
And we are brought to you by none other than Specialized Physical Therapy. If you have any aches and pains bothering you, hit up the doc, Dr. Paul Vidal at SpecializedPhysicalTherapy.com, and you have a few sessions with them. You won't be having any aches and pains anymore. So, yeah, go hit up the doc and enjoy having some pain-free comfort in your life. And the poll question is, Rick Tocchet is running a more efficient training camp than John Tortorella. Agree or disagree? Obviously, we all know that coaching philosophy-wise, Torts' style kind of graded on a few players, which, I mean, that's to be expected to an extent. However, though, does that mean that his training camps were still better than Tocchet's? Or is Rick Tocchet onto something? Gentlemen, take it away.
I'm going to agree. I'm going to agree to the poll. I think he's definitely running a more efficient training camp. I think a lot of these players are basically saying the same thing. They're going out, they're working on systems, they're working on things to help guys understand what the system's going to be, where they have to be. They're not skating around a rink tied to a rope around 2 nets. Like, what purpose was that? Like, I understand you want to build the endurance, you want to build the stamina because you're going to need it. You want to skate and all that. But let's be real. Preseason's about learning systems, learning how coaches' systems are supposed to work, where you're supposed to be, all that stuff, work out the kinks. It's supposed to get you ready for the season. A lot of the things that John Tortorella did as a head coach, I feel like was just about endurance and building all that stuff. I like what Tocchet's doing so far. I think the players are giving positive feedback on what is happening in the training camp. So, I agree to the poll. I think Tocchet so far is running a very efficient camp, and I know a lot of people might disagree with what the game is tonight, but yeah, I see a lot of positive things. So, we're going to get a little bit more into that later on in the show, but I like what I'm seeing so far, not just from an on ice standpoint, but from off the ice and what's in the player's head. So, agree to the poll.
All right, then. Robbie, how do you feel?
Well, before I answer, first and foremost, R.I.P. Bernie Perrant, right?
Yeah.
Devastating news this week. Sorry, my heart goes out to the family. Kim Perrant, has definitely been posting a lot of memories on Facebook, and hearts and prayers to the whole Flyers family is hurting right now. And on the scoreboard in this preseason, down 3-2, you can't really get married to the results, to your point, Brian, with the fan freaking out or whatnot. It's not the results. It's all about the individual play and what Rick Tocchet wants to get out of them. So in terms of the face-off poll, I'm actually going to disagree. Although it's early in the camp, I wouldn't say it's like more efficient per se. Towards camp, yeah, okay, running all those drills, but he did accomplish a lot in terms of building up that hunger, that fire, and that conditioning. This year's camp, it's focusing on different aspects. So I don't really think you can compare the two. Last week, I surmised Top would be more focused on improving skill sets and hockey IQ. And so far, he's making me look like a genius because that's exactly what's happening right now. So I think it's efficient. I don't think it's more efficient. I just think it's taking the next step, Matt.
Yeah, I would agree to an extent. I think that with Tocchet's system, I think what he's trying to do is he's trying to implement his culture, of course, into the locker room and everything as usual. I think that with the way that Tocchet is running things, I think if anything, he might be the perfect go-between between what Torts was doing and what he's doing, in the sense of like, okay, so Tocchet's not afraid to be strong and be stern if he has to be, but at the same time, it seems like he understands the players better. And when you have someone who can do that, who can toe that line better, it goes a long way to making your camps more efficient and to making your team stronger when you're going into the preseason. And of course, that will help with the starters who are going to be on the roster. They're going to get the opportunity to just kind of calm down and feel comfortable, with that. You know what I mean?
Agreed. I think it's just all about getting used to that new voice. And so far, from what I've been hearing, people are liking this new voice, Brian, especially Sean Couturier.
Yeah, Sean Couturier has some very what's the word? He loved what he's seeing out there. Just as far as early training camp goes, like I said, it comes down to he loves learning the system. He loves working on the details of the game that are going to help him and the team take the next step in this rebuild. Which I think we talked about a little bit this offseason. I think the end result here is getting the team back to the playoffs this year, and one way to do that, and I see what you were saying earlier, Rob, about Tortorella teaching certain aspects of the game to take their game to the next level. But I think brand new coach, first year, very important. Got to learn the system. So it could turn out that maybe Tocchet next year does something a little more Tortorella like. But yeah, glowing words about Tocchet and learning the system and how he's running the camp so far. And it sounds like the captain's starting to buy in. And if the captain buys in, I think you're going to see a lot of players follow suit. And I think we're going to have a very exciting season ahead of us here.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think Sean came out and said that he's already spoken with Todd more than he talked with Torts during his whole tenure.
Yeah. And that's something that I really. That's one thing I really liked about Tocchet. No, he wasn't my first choice at coach, but I think this is going to be a massive blessing in disguise, at least in my eyes, because he wasn't my first choice. He's big on communication, so he's going to be talking to his players. He's going to be in guys' ears on the bench. He's going to be in guys' ears in practice. So having a players coach like that, I think, is going to be massive, especially for the young guys who are looking to take the next step in their development. Tocchet talks like he wants to be here and he's excited to be here. I didn't really get that vibe, especially in the final year and the final couple of months from Tortorella. I just felt like he lost his luster for the city, and this is a breath of fresh air.
Let me see here. Priz was saying, I don't know, I'm not paying close attention, but I did see where Tocchet said Crosby called him personally to praise Forster, so hopefully Tocchet gets him elevated to that next level.
I did see that as well, Priz.
But yeah, Tocchet's system seems to be getting off to a good start here and good philosophy in training camp. The Flyers and the Canadians both having really strong performances. I mean, the performance right now from the Flyers, even though they're down, we got to fight. So, yeah, we got,
Fighting in the preseason. I love it.
listen, McDonald, and he won. Nice. Gave one good shot, brought him down. Nice. And it was against Tuck on the Canadians.
So I'm glad it was him because I wanted to bring him up at some point, and I'm just going to bring him up now. Hunter McDonald. I like where this kid's head at. He was saying I guess it was after the Isles game. I guess it was post game, saying that his end goal is to make this roster, and if he doesn't, he's going to do everything he can to continue to develop, to grow, to get better, to accomplish that goal of making the Flyers roster. I love that mentality. I think that's going to go such a long way, and I think he's got the makings of what it takes to be a Flyer. If that's the goal, he's not gonna cry about not making a roster. He's not going to demand a trade. He's going to continue to work hard, and if he turns into the player that I hope he does, I'm not expecting him to be first line player, first D pairing player. If he turns into a blue collar player, like, you know how valuable that's going to make him?
No, you're right. He'd be very valuable on the team. Hi, Heather. So, and I agree. Hunter McDonald getting into a scrap here, and just sticking up for the team a little bit.
It's a way to make the team show that you have that fight, that you're going to stick up for other players. I mean, what coach doesn't want to see that?
Right.
Yeah.
And it's nothing that was serious. It was just more like, it looks like Tuck and him just kind of like, yeah, let's go. And, the usual way that sometimes those break out on the rinks where they're just like, hey, you want to go? Yeah, sure. Why not?
Yeah.
Got nothing better to do.
I will say this, though, boys. One thing that I heard Tocchet say during a lot of these, post-practice, it seems like, man, so many come out these days. It's like it's ridiculous to keep track of. But listen to the talk and about particular players within the system that he's going to be like, I got to be honest, I'm not all too familiar with them, right? Like, I have to rely upon other people's information there, right? While I like that honesty, I don't like that. You come in, you're excited about a new job. I would study every player in this organization. And you don't have to be 100% on them, but to say that you have no clue, and he didn't say I had no clue, but he said I'm not familiar with them, right?
Right.
I mean, am I blowing it out of proportion?
I don't know if it's necessarily the end of the world, but I don't think it's necessarily the best look. It could be like, all right, well, maybe at this particular moment, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he isn't intending to get those details,
It's his training camp too, right?
Right,
So maybe
right.
maybe this is the time that he's studying. You know what I mean?
Right.
But still, I just, you have some, Brian, you talked about before, you were, had some trepidatious feelings, towards this and whatever. And like I said, I mean, like, this could be a guy. Tocchet's always been a guy who wears his heart in his sleeve. He straight shooter. So you got to respect that. And come opening night, you better know everybody. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
Yeah. And here's my thought process. It depends on who he's talking about. To answer your question, which
Right.
I'm not gonna lie, I thought was kind of rhetorical. That's why I kind of hesitated to answer. It depends on who the player is. If it's one of the pro roster guys, yeah, that's gonna kind of make me feel a little bit. That's gonna make me feel a little bit nervous. But if it's one of the AHL guys, it's one of the guys that are kind of like deeper on the roster.
I'm not 100%.
Okay,
I'm not 100%. So this is a bad look for me now. And I think he was talking about Gurbenkin.
Oh, grow back.
And he's not
Okay.
like a high priority, but he's a guy that's on the radar, especially with the way he's been playing in practice and in games with Mitchkov, really utilizing that familiarity.
Yeah.
I could try to look up the sound clip, but I won't find it in time. It'll take me the full 45 minutes we have left tonight.
Well, the Canadians almost scored on their power play. Luckily, it was a great save by Urson. The puck almost rolled down his back and almost into the goal. Then the Flyers had a breakaway, and unfortunately, it looks like it was from Sanheim. Sanheim just couldn't get elevation over the pad of Kakkonen to get it to go. But it's coming down to the wire. About 4:27 left in the third period, and it's getting tight. The Flyers. Obviously they know it's preseason, but for the young pups, they especially somebody wants to be a hero. So sure, they're going to want to try and tie it.
No, absolutely, because these young guys are trying to make this roster. They're fighting
Right.
for the same spots as 27 other guys. You got to stand out somehow. So hopefully, one of these young guys can step up and get the goal. I liked seeing Anthony Richard tonight, the little bit that I got to see, because somebody said it was on ESPN Plus, and I went to ESPN Plus and it wasn't there. He's always been a guy that I like, because he seems like he's a blue collar player, and that little time that he spent on the Flyers already, he's had speed. He's shown that he can score. So this is another guy that's just battling for a bottom line roster spot.
And Priz is saying, are they keeping preseason stats anywhere?
Check the scoreboard.
Yeah, I would do that.
Or the box score, whatever you want to call it.
He also goes on to say that Bedard got a one-timer tonight.
Bennett Sinecki had a pretty nice goal for Anaheim last night.
So speaking of camp philosophies and what have you, the Flyers preseason obviously coming into full force here. Definitely something that boy, Canadians are moving the puck pretty good. Luckily, the Flyers got it back. But anyway, the point is that with the preseason starting up, Flyers had their first game against the Islanders. Some big names getting on the board. Obviously, Mitchkov being one of them, and then Mitchkov winning the shootout for the Flyers. Or actually, hold on. It was not him. It was who won the shootout for the Flyers?
Emil Andre in the
Emil
11th
Andre.
round.
There we go.
But he did score. But Mitchkov did score in the shootout,
Yes.
though, as well as that late goal to send it to overtime. So it basically showed Mitchkov's picking up right where he left off.
Right.
with the key goals. It's not how many you score; it's when you score them, right?
Right, right. I mean, hey, no one can ever say Danny was blowing up the score sheets during the season, but when it was time for playoffs, you bet your ass he was going to find the back of the net in clutch time.
Well, Mitchkov might be able to say both.
Maybe.
I got a lot of goals and key goals.
Yeah. But looks like a penalty's coming up. It looks like it'll be hooking is going to be called. Find out who it's on here. Montreal. So the Flyers will have a power play here at the very tail end here in the third period. So good news there. As for the first game against the Islanders, Trevor Zegras looked good in that game. He did have a ping off the post that was pretty close to scoring. It was a beautiful play that was done. Unfortunately, did not get the result that we wanted, but it was a good opportunity, and he did look good in his time. And we also got to see Kolosov play, as well as a little bit from Bjarnson. So, we got to see some interesting names pop up there. Abel's got himself a goal, so that was nice to see. Overall, I'd say the Flyers had a pretty solid performance. Could have been a little bit tighter goaltending wise, I feel, but again, it's preseason, and everybody's getting the rust off and what have you, so it's not something to jump off the deep end on, like some like some people are on social media.
And they're always going to. That's just how it is. But yeah, I mean, so with the Isles specifically, I think the one thing that stood out to me was that one, Michkov loves scoring goals, and whether it's preseason or regular season, he's going to celebrate them.
Mm-hmm.
Two, Rodrigo Abels liked his time up here with the Flyers last year, and he's gunning for that final center spot.
Yes, he is.
I think that's his spot to lose personally. I don't necessarily think Dvorak is going to be the guy who's going to fall that far. I think we're going to see Dvorak floating around the second or third center line. I think he's going to earn it. And I think, honestly, he deserves it just because of and I know me and Prez kind of went back and forth. I think it was a couple weeks ago. He's a good face-off guy. He's a good defensive guy. And I think that's going to be his bread and butter this year. That's going to not just earn him a roster spot, but it's going to up his trade value come the deadline. And he's going to be easier to shop because a team that's competitive, that's looking to solidify their two-way play to make a deep cup run is going to pay for a guy like Dvorak. They got to, I mean, look at what they got for Sean Walker. What has he really done since he left?
Not much.
He hasn't been as good with any other team than he did, as good as he was with the Flyers. So, but point being is I think it's Abel's spot to lose. I think I want to see just a little bit more from some of the younger guys. I already have these expectations for the guys who are already on the roster. We're going to be seeing cuts here and there over the next few weeks. I want to see the guys who are on the roster just kind of step up and start making some plays and start getting their names out there, even if they're not necessarily a shoo-in to make the roster. You make some plays, get your name out there. Let Rick Tocchet and Danny Briere know who you are.
Right.
They actually shed their roster by 3 today, reassigning forward Nathan Quinn, defenseman Austin Moline, and netminder Joe Costanzo. Unfortunately, legendary guy. I still want to have a beer with him though. To the respective juniors. So I mean, Joe, he's at this point, doesn't have a professional contract, but he was undrafted. The other guys just were drafted last year, so I mean, they could certainly, have another crack at it in the future.
No, Priz, he's not in the lineup tonight.
Priz also goes on to say that Matti Blumel, as well as has a goal tonight for Boston, and he's going to be the next Verhaeghe out of nowhere.
He could.
Uh-oh. Yep, Montreal just got an empty netter. All right, so it looks like Montreal is going to take this one. Again, it is preseason, so it's nothing to pull your hair out about. Facebook. But, it is what it is. As for the play tonight, though, again, you just look to see specific guys, try to see what they can do and see how they play and how they work on the team. I would overall say it's okay. I think that they've been playing solid. Obviously, you don't like to lose, but at the same time, I don't think there was anything that I would say was disgustingly terrible from anybody. So overall, solid performance. Just wish they had a better result.
Sure. But I mean, what things that I'm liking, what I'm seeing a lot of center ice time for Trevor Zegras. So and that's good. That's what we were hoping for. And really where I think his pedigree can shine here in Philadelphia based on the need, but also give him a solid chance there at center ice. And he's come out and just all praises for Talk, right? Talking about how he's a former player, how he can really relate to today's player, really makes it easy for someone to work hard in training camp. So I love that balance, easy, hard, right? But in the end, though, the juju is good in the room. The guys are upbeat, and there's just a different air. It's moving from the past into the future, and I really think we will see this team transition their game to a more mature level because of it come the 25-26 season.
And I agree. And to your point, look. We'll just look at Zegers, for example. Look at some of the things they released a clip of him. Bless you.
Thank you.
Of him just stick handling, working on his hands, and all that, keeping puck control and all. You got Garnet Hathaway just sitting in the background. He comes around the second lap, and you just see him stick his stick and glove under his arm and just start applauding him. Like, that's fun.
Right.
You see Zegras bear hugging Tyson Forster during practice, and they look like they're enjoying camp. They look like they're enjoying themselves. That's going to say a lot with how this team moves forward this season. Like I said, I feel like I say it every week. I've said it a couple times tonight. I'm excited for the season for the Flyers. There's a lot to be excited for. I think there's going to be a massive step forward from where this team was last year, and it's starting with the culture in the locker room. It's starting with the culture in camp.
Right. Let's see here. 2 forwards, 1 D-man is a question that's being thrown out there by Priz. I'm guessing for the cuts.
Yeah, he was asking. He asked how many roster spots were open, and I responded in the chat.
Oh, okay, got you.
Yeah. Brian, real quick, Maddie. He brought up Tyson Forster, and that's another bit of good news too. Having the contact jersey on today, no longer the non-contact jersey, that really strengthens his chances to be ready come opening night for this season. So, I mean, that's just great overall. You got to be encouraged by his progress, guys.
Oh, 100%. Considering that was wide open when they made the announcement, they didn't have any answers. So, luckily, he's still young enough that his body can rebound a little bit quicker than, say, mine. My body doesn't like to rebound at all anymore. I hit 35, and my body's like, screw you, man. Like, you're on your own. I said, all right, I guess so. I mean, between my foot, my wrist, and my elbow, I'm falling apart over here, boys. But, Tyson Forster is, he's on the right track. It sounds like he's going to be ready for opening night, and I'm excited because a certain player, and I know Priz dropped the comment in here earlier, a certain player in Pittsburgh decided he was going to give Tocchet a call and say, hey, Forster's the man. I can't wait to see what he does. Can't wait to see where he's going to go with his career. Basically, Sidney Crosby gave Tyson Forster a glowing, I guess, recommendation or a glowing compliment.
Yeah.
So, goes to say a lot about what not only Tyson Forster is doing in this league so far, but what one of the best in the world has to say about him. So that's high praise.
Yes.
Right. So, I mean, overall, though, we've had a really great, I think so far we've had a great start to the camp. And what?
It's just what Rob sent in the chat. It's the truth.
What did I write? I
don't
remember
that thing you sent me. I met
yeah.
Nobody was saying, don't do that again.
Just to go along with what you were saying. Right. Another thing really quick, guys, that I've been really encouraged about. I didn't watch much tonight besides us chiming in on the game late here, but during the Islanders, the young goaltenders look pretty good. Koloslov, Bjarnson, and that's a good first step for both of those young netminders.
Absolutely. I mean, Kolosov obviously has some experience in the NHL from just basically the three goaltender situation we had last year. And Bjarnson, just him coming here into training camp, getting an opportunity to participate in these preseason games. Will he wear an orange and black jersey at all during the regular season? Probably not. However, though, it is nice to see him get his beak wet here in the preseason side of things.
Yeah, he was 17 for 17. He'll wear orange and black. It just might be at Lehigh Valley for the course of this season. But yeah, if he has a good camp, right, it could change from being down there all season to maybe being up with the squad to help out in the case of injury or need come later in the season.
No,
Right.
100%. And not only just to not only did he go 17 for 17, Bjarnason, but he went 9 for 11 in the shootout. That's against, quite frankly, a quick, really good Islanders team who's got a lot of young talent. To go 9 of 11 on that was really impressive. And I think, like I said, I think Kolosov got humbled. What's up, Benny? And that really is going to kind of head check him. And I think we're going to see better play out of him this year. And also keep in mind, like, that was, yo, SJM, what up? But yeah, I'm excited for this goaltending tandem because I think we're really going to start getting some answers. I think we know where Urson is. We know what he's going to be. Vladar could be a question mark, and then Kolosov and Bjarnason could be two wild cards that could really take this team to the next level. But time will tell with that. So let's go.
Yeah. I mean, so far, cool to see. Good to see.
I love it. I love to see it.
So, with that, obviously, with how these games have played out so far, guys, do you think that with Tocchet's philosophy and camp and everything, judging by not necessarily the results, but by judging by what you've observed with the play, you think so far that it's been taking effect and kind of been easily integrating in with everybody, or do you think do you think there's anybody who might be struggling?
I do. I think I see a lot of smiles. Brian, you talked about that. Guys having fun, and that's important for the overall mojo and the confidence of this team. But I also see a lot of battles going on. There's a lot of competition for roster spots, and there's no pulling punches or shying away from that. So there's a lot of hard hockey being played between the smiles.
Mm. Right. And SJM saying Tocchet strikes me as a full intensity type guy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was a fighter before he was a goal scorer back in the day. So I mean, yeah, Tocchet was an intense player. So
Yeah, and that's what I think makes him a pretty solid coach is the intensity. And again, the one thing to keep in mind is, this is a player's coach. This is a coach who's been in all the situations that these guys are going to be in. So it makes it a lot easier to be able to coach these guys in those situations, which could take all these guys to develop to the next level that need that extra push. I like Torts. He's always good for a comment or two, but I mean,
Or seven.
Or seven. He never got you to. He couldn't. He could only get you to a certain point because he never played the game. He was always a coach, and he was a very good coach, which is how he got to the NHL. But it just having somebody who's been in that situation and can explain how to either position yourself a little bit differently or angle yourself to get a better shot or miss a stick or create a passing lane, it makes the world of difference. It really does.
right, it does, and Chris saying Tocchet reminds me of R. Lee Emery. May he rest in peace. You know, I will say I like the fact that we're seeing the early signs of, okay, this is integrating in pretty well. And it's going to benefit in the long run for the Flyers, obviously, as we get closer into the season and, getting further along. Obviously, you're going to have your peak and valley moments as everything happens in a regular season. But at the same token, what I really enjoy about it is the fact that you're seeing the system slowly but surely coming into place and, taking care of taking care of itself, essentially.
Yeah, and we want that.
Right. And Heather saying nothing much. She says she just got done making cupcakes. Oh.
I've given up the sweets for a while, trying to get thin for the wedding, but
yeah. Got it. It's tough, I will say. Although, to be fair, I guess with me it was more like just soda. That was what I had to cut out.
yeah, so does it. All those empty calories.
Yep.
Cut him out.
Yeah.
You can still drink soda. Just drink zero sugar diet. It's all about cutting your calories. Calorie deficit.
It's actually like I'll only ever drink a soda, like maybe one or two, and I'll limit myself to two, and I'll do it like only when I'm out and about. I'm not going to do it when I'm at home or when I'm at work or anything. I'll just drink water at work. I'll drink like Arizona, here.
There's just as much sugar in that there is in soda.
Well, not as bad as it as it could be.
That's true. That's
true. The caffeine.
Nothing beats some high quality H2O.
Right. But I mean, it's better. It's a better choice than soda, which adds a lot more to it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But anyway,
I've switched over to zero sugar, just because there's no calories, and I can have one a day and be okay.
Right. So, all right, boys. Obviously, Rob talked about it earlier, and tragedy, of course, for the world of hockey. Actually, there were 3 tragedies that hit the world of hockey this month, which is even more saddening to see. Obviously, the big one, Bernie Parent, tragically passing away. Really tough moment for the Flyers faithful and for the hockey world. Bernie was 80, so he had lived a good long life. Unfortunately, he passed away around the same time. He literally passed away right after Ken Dryden and Ed Giacome died as well. So it's just like it's been a rough couple of weeks here for the NHL. And I was gonna say, guys, what would be like your favorite, like, obviously none of us were alive when Bernie was actively playing, but what would you guys say about like just really cool moments in Bernie's career that you really think about as why he was so iconic here in the city?
Just going to say real quick how he treated everybody like family, and he would talk to people he just met and treat them as if they were friends forever. And I think that was the legend of Bernie. Obviously massive, big goalie, won Stanley Cups here, but the way that he treated people, I think that was what made Bernie so iconic.
And still did. I mean, the charity that he did up until, I mean, they were just on the stage. Terry and Bundy put out a post about how they were just on stage together during a charity event a week ago. That's why you got to appreciate each day, because you never know when it's going to be your last. 80, a long life, but still far too young. And it does come in threes for sure. And the hockey, so it's not to overshadow Ken Dryden, legendary in in hockey as well. But Bernie just being around, being an ambassador for the Flyers, always having the time to stop and talk to a fan, shake a hand, right? Could be a good politician, kiss baby, right? But he's just a very good people person, and he left, he came back, right? There's a reason for that, because once you're in this culture, it's just a family, and you never forget that. And I think Rick Tocchet even spoke to that too when they asked him about his thoughts of the passing of Bernie Perron, and just compliment on how warm he was to the young players coming in, right? And always having a good story to tell them, right? Getting them ready for their own careers. But just the personable, like the warm charisma, and and that the hockey world, but the Philadelphia Flyers family lost a good one.
Yeah. Um, it's a tough one to see, from the Broad Street Bully days and him being the goaltender of the team. Actually, he had 2 stints with the Flyers. He was actually a part of the pair of the first goalies that the Flyers ever had. And then he left and went to Toronto for a short period of time. I also think he went to the Rangers actually for a short period of time before he wound up back in Philadelphia. And once he came back into Philly, he became the Bernie that we all knew, and he just started crushing like teams, just shutting them down without even really flinching. He could just do it on a whim half the time. And it's like, damn, that's that. There are goalies who can be considered elite. Bernie absolutely is right up there with the elite goaltenders. And think about the company that he was sharing with. I mean, we were talking about, Ed Giacome and Ken Dryden. They were all 3 playing in the same era. And, maybe Ken Dryden had more rings. I don't even think Ed Giacome even won a Stanley Cup. But the point is that, like, it didn't really matter. The fact is that Bernie was on the level with those guys. And he was right there with them the entire time that he played.
Yeah, I mean, you say elite. Elite is an understatement. I mean, how many goalies have won back-to-back Stanley Cups?
Not many.
Not a lot. I mean, if you look at the Pittsburgh Penguins, the last time they went back-to-back, it wasn't the same goalies. I mean, Tampa Bay, Florida, maybe Montreal in its heyday. The Islanders in the 80s, you could probably throw them out there.
I mean, the Oilers didn't even have, like, they switched between Moog and Fuhr.
Yeah, and for him to kind of just be able to do that, be in a longer list that I'm sure I'm making it out to seem. But I mean, it's hard enough to win one Stanley Cup, but to win back to back and be the goalie for both says a lot about his game and how he was as a player. But again, like I was just saying, who he was off the ice, I think he was always a great goalie, but how he was off the ice with the fans made him a legendary Flyer.
No, you guys are right. And I mean, everybody's saying that French Canadian humor, or should I say humor? But no, it is true. And Bernie, one of the big moments, obviously, for him definitely was, like John had said, when he shut out the Boston Bruins in Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Finals, 1-0, and won the first Stanley Cup for the Flyers, which was the first championship Philadelphia had seen in quite some time. And I mean, we think about how valuable that Stanley Cup was to Philly at that time. I mean, you can equate it to when the Phillies won the World Series in 2008. It's just like, why was it such a big deal when the Phillies won in '08? It's like, because Philly hadn't seen a championship since the '80s. So that's a good long while for there not to be a championship in Philadelphia. So it was the same thing in 1974. The Philadelphia had not seen a championship in a long time, and so it was a big deal when Bernie pulled that shutout off and won the Stanley Cup for the Flyers. It was huge. It was the biggest thing ever for Philadelphia.
It's pouring here, by the way.
Oh, that's what. Oh, so that was the noise outside. Okay.
Is that yeah? Well, can you hear it?
Yeah.
Or do you hear it through my speaker or my microphone?
No, I'm hearing it outside my window.
Yeah,
Probably hasn't come up to me yet.
It's coming, Rob. Don't worry.
Get there. It'll get there. Just you wait. But I mean, yeah, Bernie doing that, and then of course, obviously, the shutout against Buffalo to secure the final Stanley Cup of that era for the Flyers and that era of the Broad Street Bullies. I mean, it's a shame Bernie got hurt in the '76 final. I don't know if the Flyers still would have won that series because they were facing literally, arguably, the greatest Montreal Canadiens team ever put on ice. So that would have been quite a challenge, even if Bernie was in net. And you're also facing Ken Dryden, who had been very much an equal. So that would have been a challenge, to say the least. But the fact that, Bernie had so many great classic moments. I mean, he was in goal against the Russians when the Flyers took them on and beat them and physically beat them and beat them on the score sheet too. So, so many great moments from Bernie Perron, and such a great man. And I will say, I'll share a funny. I'll share the time I met Bernie. Actually, my uncle did the fantasy camp, so I went down to go see him. Bernie was his coach, and so Bernie was just, he tapped my uncle on the shoulder, saying, "I gotta go get something from the car." And my uncle introduced me to Bernie, and at the time I had my hair and I had the full beard going, and my uncle joked and said, "Yeah, he's sporting his Scott Hartnell look right now." And Bernie responded with, "But you're a lot better looking than Hartnell." And then he left.
That's tremendous. Funny. And that's the charisma, right? That's the try. Just he treated everybody like you were his best friend.
Yep.
They once said here in Philadelphia that only the Lord saves more than Bernie. Well, now Bernie's together with the Lord, so they could save everyone together.
Right.
Yeah. And Lord knows that we need it. But that's all I'm going to say on that.
But yeah, so definitely a tragic moment for the Flyers. Sad day. Unfortunately, it's inevitable, but it's a shame that it happened right before the season really got underway. Obviously, we know the tributes will definitely be going out, to him when the Flyers get back to Philadelphia, and definitely when the season gets started. And then on top of that as well, again, also for Edgy Home and Ken Dryden, and thoughts and prayers to them as well, to their families for the loss. And, the hockey world's lost 3 players in the span of 2 weeks. And here in Philly, we lost a legendary player. So it's really hard. It's a tough one. But the good news is that as we continue moving forward, as we get closer to the regular season, so far preseason's been looking really good. A lot of training camp opportunities, positions that are being fought for. There's not many, but by God, they're fighting for them. And that's good because competition can bring out the best in young players. And I think that's what we've been seeing. So hopefully we'll continue to see that as we get closer to the regular season.
Absolutely. And like I said, this camp, this season is really going to tell not just the organization, but the fan base about where they are in the rebuild. How far away are they? You know, everybody keeps saying there's not a ton of talent on this Flyers roster. I strongly disagree. I think there's a lot of talent here. We just need the right coach to get them over the top. And I think they have it.
There's talent. It's just that there's a lot of raw, untapped talent that's there. And it's like that's not a you have to, like you said, you got to have the right coach. But at the same time, it's like it's there. It's always been there. It's just the problem is it's like you can't. It's not just going to magically appear. Mitchkov just has a God-given talent. Some guys need a little bit more development.
Mm-hmm.
It's just how it rolls.
Yeah, I mean, Forster. All right, so I won't even bring up Forster. So here's a good example. So you look at Farabee, you look at Frost. Farabee and Frost are obviously no longer with the organization. Ironically, they were the only 2 goal scorers for Calgary the other night. They never developed into the players that the Flyers thought that they would be. So now's the time to really prove to this organization what your worth is. Otherwise, you're gonna hit the bricks with Frosty and Beezer. And obviously, I'll have no ill will towards these guys. Best of luck to wherever they go. But now's the time to shine, baby. Now's the time to shine.
Right. Yeah. And I think that, as we get closer to the regular season, we're going to, see more of the cuts and everything like that. And, we're going to see who's getting more ice time and who's getting more of the opportunities to be out there. Who knows? It may very well be Abels after his performance against the Islanders. Their possibilities are very much there for a lot of players who want to make this roster.
He's fighting hard. Too much to our prognostication, Cam York has looked awesome, and he honestly is really looking to make that next step and prove that I'm worth that money and much more in the long run. So there's a lot to be excited about. I think anybody that doesn't see the talent here has their head in the sand. I think the people that know hockey that you hear about, Frank Saravelli, very high on this team's prospective chances. And I really feel, despite the loss tonight, right, the wins and losses preseason doesn't really matter. I like the fight. I like how they came back with 2 goals in the second period tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll see what this was as this roster starts to take shape, because there's so many different versions of this team that's also getting put out there on any given night. So
yeah,
we'll definitely see how that materializes. But we made mention of how this team is moving away from the John Tortorella era. Well, I did want to make a note. I saw an article today that John Tortorella actually landed a new coaching gig.
I heard that he did. Yes. Go right ahead, Rob.
He lands a new coaching job with USA Hockey as they announced their assistant coaches and support staff for Mike Sullivan, as the U.S. men's Olympic team is set to compete in the 2026 Winter Olympics in Milan, Italy. It'll be the assistant coaching staff will be John Tortorella, as well as New York Rangers assistant coach David Quinn and Minnesota Wild head coach John Hines, serving under head coach Mike Sullivan. So congrats to Torts. Not a surprise. He's had his hand in USA Hockey for a while.
Yeah, that's true. And obviously Torts is actually one of the more successful American coaches that's been in the league in history. So it's definitely a big thing for him. And all I can say is for the boys who are going to be on that USA team, you better be ready to put the work in, because you will have to work.
Yeah, and not just come up short on anything. Like, John Tortorella is a great coach,
right?
He's been very successful in this league. Yeah, he's only had one cup, but every team that he's been a part of, every organization he's coached, has had great success.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, only the 2004 Tampa Bay Lightning team was his only Stanley Cup champion team, but he's gotten there with Vancouver, and I believe he got there with the Rangers. So he's always been good enough to get there, but maybe his teams have fallen short. But I think putting him in a position where he's working with USA Hockey instead of a particular organization, I think it's going to be more beneficial for him because then he's working on he's working on a game plan for the Olympics, and now for February, instead of working on a game plan every week, he can continue to work on things now and get Team USA ready for Italy and the competition that's going to come.
Yeah, and it'll be an exciting time because obviously the NHL pros are going to be heading over to the Olympics, so there will be that contest from them.
Which I'm still not fully on, but whatever.
Yeah, so that's been baked into the schedule, as per usual when this happens. And, they did it last year with the Four Nations Cup, which I think, unfortunately, that became a bit of a political rivalry, more so than a hockey thing. But, that is what it is at that time. But what I definitely think will be fun about this is that we'll get back to it being more of a friendly contest instead of it being a mudslinging contest like the previous one turned into. So I'm kind of happy with that personally. As for that though, guys, was there any philosophy, training camp notes that we wanted to throw out there, or anything from the games that we noticed that we wanted to put out there before we wrap this guy up?
I'm actually kind of surprised Vladar didn't play at all tonight. I'm surprised they haven't gotten him in a game situation yet. I know we're only 2 games in, but you had Kolosov and Bjarnason against the Islanders. You figure you're probably going to do Ersson and Vladar tonight, but you did Ersson and Kolosov, and you ran Ersson all night. So not necessarily a bad thing because we know Ersson's going to be the starter, but would have been kind of nice to see Vladar.
Yeah, it would have been. Doesn't mean that they won't. There might be a game coming up where he'll do the whole thing, possibly, like Ersson did.
Oh yeah. Until then, we'll just try not to get beat by Michkov and Gurbankin because they've been working together real well. I've liked Michkov's physicality in practice too, which is nice. Like seeing a guy take a guy out on the boards and then feed a sweet pass to Gurbankin. I saw that as a little clip from camp. Bring that physical element, MM. Let's go.
Yeah, that's what you like to see. You want to see that develop as we get, as he gets further along in his career. But yeah, I think so far I'm liking the names that have had their opportunities to kind of take a step to moving towards their development and making progress. And yeah, I think that with the performances so far, like I said, the results are what they are. It doesn't really matter. The important thing is, did they play well? And so far, been seeing some good play from a lot of guys. And hopefully that will continue as the preseason moves further towards its conclusion. And obviously, there's a lot of work still to be done, but hey, so far it seems like everything's coming into place with Tocchet's system. So good news so far. So far, so good. So with that, I believe that's it for this edition of Flyers Talk A2D. And again, would have loved to have seen a better result. Unfortunately, it didn't. It still doesn't matter, though, at the end of the day. As long as we saw good play from the players, that's what matters. So, next week on the show, just to take a look here, see if we have ourselves a game next Tuesday. We do not. So we fall in between preseason games next week. So we will have a chance to review the 2 Boston games that are coming up and preview what's coming up for the next one. So, there'll be stuff plenty to talk about, though, I'm sure, because we'll have at least 3 games, I think, that'll be between this show and the next. So there'll be stuff to talk about.
That's right. I found a way to stream them all. On the road, at home, no matter.
So we thank everybody for joining us for this edition of Flyers Talk A2D. Once again, we were brought to you by none other than the Dr. Paul Vidal of our Specialized Physical Therapy. If you have any aches and pains, please do not hesitate. Go hit up the doc. Make an appointment. Cherry Hill, Burlington, New Jersey. They will take care of you. You will feel good as new. And we will see you guys next week as we have those games coming up and plenty more decisions to be made in regards to the training camp roster. And of course, what vets are we going to see who might pop up during the preseason before the regular season begins. Until next week, from all of us here at A2D, we love each and every one of you. Thank you very much for your support. We're very excited for another season with you guys it's just starting to begin. And as always, hit the bell, hit the like button, and remember, hit subscribe so you get all those notifications, because that's going to be huge, because it isn't just hockey. It's all sports we cover here.
And hey, you want to send us some stars? You want to send us a little C note on YouTube? We're more than happy to accept your generosity. We appreciate the fan for supporting us here at A2D Radio.
Absolutely. So we thank you all once again for joining us. We will see you guys next week right here on A2DRadio.com. Until then, though, you stay safe, you stay healthy out there. Peace and love, everybody.